This is Georgi Markov. He's a Bulgarian writer and playwright. He doesn't know it yet, but on his way to work, he will be poisoned. But what, who, and why? After the end of the Second World War, two clear superpowers emerged, the US and the Soviet Union. Due to their clear ideological and political differences, Europe was split into two. On one side, the capitalist West led by the US, France, Italy, Belgium, England, West Germany, and the communist East led by the USSR, Poland, East Germany, Czechoslovakia, Hungary, Romania, and Bulgaria. In 1944, in the dying days of the war, and under threat of Soviet troops in the area, Bulgaria declared its neutrality and ordered German troops to withdraw. However, that was not enough, and on the 9th of September, communists took control of Bulgaria in a coup, abolishing adversarial institutions, quashing dissent, initiating political repression, and mass killings strengthened their grip on the country. In the 1960s, Georgi Markov, together with two other playwrights, is tasked with writing a play to celebrate the 25th anniversary of the communist coup. He's given this task by the longest reigning communist leader in Bulgaria, Todor Zhikov. Zhikov rules Bulgaria from 1954 until the fall of the regime in 1989. He's known for his undying loyalty to the Soviet Union, a fact Markov will highlight multiple times in the years to come. But Zhikov also sees the clear benefit that people of the arts given in shaping public discourse and opinion. For over 6 months, Markov pores over documents he's been given access to, and he's surprised to see the actual truth. The documents challenge the official narrative. That, coupled with the fact that several of his works have been censored due to being deemed subversive to the regime, is what pushes him over the edge. But who really is Georgi Markov, and how did he get to this point? Georgi Markov is born in 1929 in Kняževo, then a village, now a neighborhood in the capital, Sofia. He graduates as an engineer, but is then unfortunately admitted to a hospital because of tuberculosis. It is believed he develops a passion for writing there. His hospitalization also forms his new outlook on life. He chases strong emotions and leans into Epicurean ideas. But by far, the most important thing to him in his life is personal freedom and the freedom of expression, which is why he'd soon learn about Bulgaria's secret police, Državna Sigurnost. One of the main instruments to maintain power in totalitarian countries has always been a form of secret police agencies. Eastern Bloc countries were definitely not an exception. All the countries modeled their secret police after the KGB. In East Germany, it was the Stasi, infamous for its mass surveillance and vast network of spies. In Romania, it was the Securitate, known for its brutality and loyalty to Romanian dictator Nicolae Ceausescu, enforcing one of the most repressive regimes in Europe. In Bulgaria, it was the Committee for State Security, also known as Državna Sigurnost. It was a long arm of the regime when it came to surveillance, political repression, assassinations, crushing dissidents, propaganda, and it fought tooth and nail to keep the regime in power by any means necessary. It's now early 1978. General Yuri Andropov, head of the KGB, gets a call from the Bulgarian Minister of Interior at the time, General Dimitar Stoyanov. He wants help from the KGB to assassinate Georgi Markov. General Kalugin, head of counterintelligence, is also in the room. He will be the one to tell this story. After initial hesitation, Andropov agrees to it, but with no direct participation. In other words, they will supply the necessary materials and training, but will not be actively involved in the assassination. But why the sudden dark turn? You see, in 1969, Markov was growing frustrated with the lack of freedom of expression in Bulgaria. He also wanted to make it big in the West and believed that one of his plays might be the ticket to do just that. The reading of the secret documents was just a tipping point, so in 1969, he ended up emigrating to Italy and then to England, where he met his wife and had a daughter. He started working for the BBC and Deutsche Welle and actively criticized the regime in Bulgaria. Because he was a charismatic and charming person, he was able to ingratiate himself within the upper echelons, thus getting a look behind the curtain and having a deep understanding of the regime itself. A boiling point was reached with a series of critiques directly aimed at Todor Zhikov, broadcasted on Radio Free Europe. Markov repeatedly critiqued Zhivkov for his crude interference in cultural affairs and his blind loyalty to the Soviet Union, often at the expense of Bulgaria. That allegedly infuriated Zhivkov, and he ordered Državna Sigurnost to do whatever it takes to silence him once and for all. Plan is set in motion, and on the 7th of September 1978, while walking to work on the Waterloo Bridge, he feels a sharp pain in his right thigh. And when he turns around to see what happened, he sees a man reaching down to grab his umbrella from the ground. The man then apologizes with a noticeable accent and jumps into a cab. Markov doesn't know it yet, but he had just been poisoned with ricin by an agent of Državna Sigurnost. Their plan was to obviously kill Markov, but also not to leave any evidence behind and make it seem like a natural death, because ricin doesn't leave any traces. Later on during the day, he recounts this incident to his wife and a friend, and in the evening, he becomes very ill. The next day, he's admitted to a hospital, and unfortunately, 3 days later, he ends up passing away. The doctors were able to make out that he had been poisoned, but since there were no traces, they weren't able to make an antidote in time. After the fall of Todor Zhivkov and communism in Bulgaria in 1989, investigations were launched and documents requested. However, hundreds of files had been destroyed in order to conceal the government's involvement in the murder. Most people believed they'd never get the truth until... It's the late 1990s. Investigative journalist Hristo Hristov has been poring over countless of classified Državna Sigurnost files, a personal crusade of his, resulting in a prolonged legal and journalistic campaign under Bulgaria's Access to Public Information Act. All his dedication culminates in the release of his book, Kill the Wanderer, a codename used for Georgi Markov. In it, he also names the alleged killer, Francesco Golino, a small-time smuggler who was caught in Bulgaria and was given two options, either go to jail or become an agent. Golino ended up choosing the latter, and so began all the coincidences with him and Georgi Markov's assassination. Agent Piccadilly's file, as was his code name, confirms he was the only Bulgarian Secret Service agent operating in London at the time of Georgi Markov's death. The files refer to Golino as working on the planning of, quote, neutralizing Markov starting in 1977. Shortly before traveling to London, he was recalled to Bulgaria for, quote, special training. After the training had concluded, he had dinner with the head of the intelligence service, indicating the importance of the training. Passport stamps from one of Golino's fake passports confirm he was present in London several weeks before the murder. A day after the assassination took place, Golino left London and traveled to Rome. The files also confirm him having visual confirmation with another Bulgarian Secret Service agent in Rome, which was taken as a sign that the mission was successful. He was awarded 2 medals for, quote, services to security and public order. He continued to receive financial support for years after the murder, which investigators believe was a reward for his high-value service. Interestingly enough, Golino was detained and questioned by both British and Danish police. He admitted to working for Državna Sigurnost and being in London at the time of the murder, but he denied ever having any involvement in the assassination itself. However, no formal charges have ever been brought against Golino because crucial pages from his file had been illegally destroyed in 1990. He died in 2021. Dimitar Kenarov, Georgi Markov's biographer, sums him up perfectly. A good man that knew his weaknesses, which is why people love him. It's usually said that Georgi Markov fought for his political ideas and political freedom, and that's correct. However, he deeply believed that he wouldn't be able to do that for other people if he himself was not free.